A very good evening to you, and welcome once again to another wonderful episode of the Dr. Love Show right here on Shine TV. I am your host, Naa Ashorkor, and I'll be the one to take you through the show today. Today with me is another wonderful personality, but before I introduce him, we'll take a commercial break. When we come back, I promise you are going to enjoy the show. But before we go on the break, I want to take this minute to acknowledge my sponsors, Fredco Constructions Limited, Bueller's Collection, Apostle Felix Henry Dowu of the Abundance Grace Apostolic Church, and Vince Makeover. Let's take this break. When we come back, you are going to enjoy.
Do you need an outfit for any occasion? Then worry no more. Bueller's Collections got you sorted. At Bueller's Collections, we have everything ladies and kids, which includes dresses for church, wedding occasions, office wears, and many more. We also have bags, shoes, jewelries, purses, clutches, and ladies' underwear. For more information, contact Bueller's Collections at 0558 690 790 or 0557 112508. We can also be located at Comty 2 opposite Santa Barbara School, close to PV or Bay Runabout. Bueller's Collections, we boast your confidence.
Welcome back from that break, and as we do best, we are here to give you another wonderful story, and we'll digest into it to give you all that it takes. Welcome to the studios, Doctor.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
We bless God. I believe everyone is doing great.
Everyone is doing great.
Glory to God. We have a short story in the form of a question that we are going to answer shortly so that we can take it on from there.
Sure.
House. Why do we have to do traditional marriage and white wedding? Why do we, especially the Christians, have to marry twice? Any explanation?
Wow, this is a very great question, and I think that it is a question that is going to reveal a lot of secrets and then kill our ignorance on marrying twice. Okay, so to begin with, let me let our viewers understand what culture means. Culture is what puts people together, and culture, so far as we know, or as far as we know, is a way of doing something. Or so, a culture is what identifies a people. Okay, so for instance, when you go to the Fantis, there's something that identifies them. When you go to the Airways, there's something that identifies them. When you go to all the other tribes, there are certain things that identify them. In the same way, when you come to Africa, there are things that identify us from and makes us different from, the Western world. And one of those things is marriage, which is very important. Okay, so when we talk about traditional marriage and then white wedding, why should a Christian have both? To me, it doesn't make sense. And I'm not saying this because I was not privileged to have done both of them. I did both of them. Which, of course, if I know or if I knew what I know today, I would never have done both of them. Because one, it is time wasting, it is energy sapping. It wastes a lot of our resources, as far as money is concerned. And you see, when it comes to traditional marriage, we should understand that is our version of marriage. The white wedding is for somebody. It is not for us. The white wedding is for the white people. So when the whites do that white wedding, ask yourself, do they go ahead to do our version of marriage? They don't. So why have we copied blindly? To the extent that we even call our own an engagement, and they refer to theirs as, the proper way, the proper marriage. It is wrong. Let me just say something. When I was going to marry in 2019, which of course it still hurts me, It still hurts me. My pastor said, if I marry any other marriage without doing the church wedding, they are not going to recognize me as a married man. Unfortunately and coincidentally, we went to my wife's pastor's place. He also repeated the same thing. And as of today, even till now, I'm still hurt to hear pastors say the same thing. Then where lies our culture? Where lies our culture? And let me also say that when it comes to marriage, church has no part to play in it.
Really?
Sure. Church has no part to play in marriage.
Why do you say that?
Okay, so let's go back to the Bible and ask, how many marriages were blessed by pastors? And if you check through the Bible, you get to know that all marriages were blessed by fathers. And fortunately for the African community, we have a similar culture that marriage is supposed to be done in our traditional way. That is, it takes the father to bless the marriage. So the question that the person is asking is, why should we do the traditional marriage and then go ahead to do the white wedding? It doesn't make sense. We should not even consider doing both. And if you do, it's going to save us a lot. Not just money, but wasting people's time. I mean, trying to copy other people's culture.
And come to think of it, those we are copying are not even seeing the relevance of
it. And it doesn't even make us authentic. It doesn't even make us authentic. We should be authentic enough to appreciate our own way of marriage. You see, how you just go back, ask yourself, why did our forefathers, the olden people, had their marriages traveling, for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, and some even lived together till till one died. Some marriages even lasted for as much as 50, 60, 70 years.
This is where the blind copy comes to play. I think we are copying people's things and we are overdoing what the people were doing that we went to copy. And we've cherished it so much that it has become the norm of the community. So it looks or feels as if you don't do it, then you are not enlightened or you are a pauper or something like that. So everybody wants to be seen. Let me force myself. Even to the extent that people who do not have the means, people go for loan and then they do it. You see them in the marriage. The last time I read a story, they went for loan and then they used it for a wedding, a very big one. And within the marriage period, less than a year, they were still paying. But the lady did something that was really serious, that there had to be a breakup or a divorce in the marriage while the guy was still paying the loan.
Unfortunately, I am so much disappointed in the church. Unapologetically, I'm very much disappointed in the church. In the sense that they are rather promoting these things. They have even promoted fornication more, because they would want every person in the church to have this kind of white wedding. And these traditional marriages or traditional weddings are not regarded. So, and when you compare the two, much money is spent on the white wedding more than the traditional one. So when people are not able to get a certain amount, they cannot go ahead to marry. And with that, they will say, okay, as long as we love ourselves and we don't have the money to do the so-called white wedding, why don't I just enjoy ourselves? And this thing has promoted a lot of fornication in the churches. But unfortunately, the church seem not to know.
They are blind on that. So blind on that.
Because church came to meet our tradition. And every church setup, when you go to every country, a church setup has its roots in their culture. Go to Israel. they do things based on their culture. So why can't
Even
we?
in the church?
Yes, the church, as in when you read through the Bible, when it is talking about the Israelites, it is talking about their culture. Their culture. The Bible was actually written based on their culture. So why don't we also appreciate our own, which will make us authentic? Because one, when there is a divorce, the church has nothing to do with the divorce. It is the family which has a lot to do with the divorce. And people are getting divorced every now and then because of some of these issues.
Those that we are uplifting their culture, they don't even regard our own. They don't have a kind of traditional marriage there. They go straight ahead to do their white wedding, and
Because
then
they are being
gone.
authentic.
Hey.
They are being authentic. They are not too, timid for somebody to push something on them.
But also, can I say that we overdo in this country?
Probably.
We overdo because you copied something from someone, and if that's what you want, why not leave yours and go? But you do this and do this, and you know that this is what is incurring a lot of cost. But it has become a norm, and everybody is doing it.
I am not saying, I wouldn't agree to the fact that we are overdoing certain things. Okay. It is out of ignorance. Okay. It is out of ignorance. And we have gotten to a point where, we have allowed the Western culture to infiltrate our own culture. To push ours away and then making their own as the original one. We should be original. We should be original. And I don't blame our generation so much. I blame people who should know better to advise this generation on what to do, especially in our churches. Because every pastor comes from a family. Every pastor comes from a community where there is culture. So ask yourself, those pastors who are advocating for this white wedding, did their parents marry in the same way? Did they have double marriage? Or if not for their parents, did their great grandparents marry in the same way? No. They had their traditional, well-respected marriage. And they cherished it. They respected it. And that marriage has guided them. And there are a lot of value in that kind of marriage. A lot of value in that kind of marriage. But today, you go to the churches, people don't even concentrate so much on the marriage itself. They rather turn their attentions to how beautiful the ceremony is going to be, the number of bridesmaids that they need to have, the number of best men or whatever that they need to have, with that even not knowing the essence of the marriage. So we have the ceremony itself, the white wedding itself, has shifted the attention of people who are even getting married. They are all about the wedding, the ceremony, the wedding, the ceremony, and they have left the most important thing behind: why they are going to marry. But if they should marry in the traditional way, they will have people sitting them down, telling them the essence of the purpose of marriage and why they are going to marry and what they need to do, the possible obstacles they are going to face. And people who have married for so long will use their lives as a testimony.
But I think they go to court they go for counseling too for the white wedding.
For that one, it may be a topic on its own. The counseling itself is another issue. I would prefer that we have parents or elderly people in the community who have been married for so long, who have faced it all in their marriages, and their marriages will be, enough to educate our people, to advise our people on. Most of these pastors, some of them are not even married. They counsel theoretical. It is not about practicals. They counsel with theory and what they may have read from somewhere. But when you get to marry in the traditional way, they have people who will sit you down and then counsel you well, use their marriages as, a testimony to counsel you. So before you leave them, you would have known what to do.
Beautiful. This is really serious. But don't you think that counseling and that of listening to the elders are similar or maybe the same?
They are not similar. They are not the same. Counseling in most cases is based on theory.
Okay.
Counseling in most cases is based on theory.
And let's come to this. Should there be a law that everyone that is supposed to be a counselor should be someone that is in the play or the field or something, has the experience? Is that going to help?
That would be great.
Okay.
That would be great. Someone who has not just read to know, but someone who is in it to know, who has had the experience to be able to give to others. Because you can't give to people what you don't have.
Exactly.
You can never give to people what you don't have. There's a place for theory and there's a place for practicals. And I wouldn't, in all humility, go to somebody who is only knowledgeable when it comes to theory, but practically he's bankrupt or she's bankrupt.
How do you get to know?
You get to know. By their fruit you shall know them. Because let me say this.
You get there.
Let me say this. If you want to know somebody who has seen it on in marriage, get closer to people who have been married for more than 20 years.
Okay.
They have all the experience to tell you. They have everything it takes to advise you on. They have everything it takes to guide you on the path of marriage. They have everything it takes. And marriage, for all we know, is pay as you go. It's not like the counseling is going to do so much for you. The counseling is based on somebody's ideologies. Do this, don't do this. Your counseling may not, you may not know my problem, the problem that I'm going to face in the marriage. Your counseling may be based on your latest experience that you have had. But when it comes to the traditional setup, not everybody can just come and advise you. They have people who have been married for so long who come and use their lives as an example to guide your path. To guide your path. We should not, let us be African. We are not saying being Africans like throwing away anything, things that will help us. But when it comes to marriage, let us be authentic. When it comes to marriage, let us respect our culture, our traditional way of getting married. Our traditional way of getting married. I can't, anybody listening to me, just do this research. Those who marry traditional way, compare them to those who are marrying now. Who are so much into this white wedding, church wedding, and what have you. Compare the two, and you get to know that one is better than the other. And obviously, the traditional way of getting married is better than this white wedding. Because one, God respects culture. And God will always endorse what binds people together. And when it comes to blessing, people think that having a pastor to bless your marriage is better than having your father to bless your marriage. It is never true. The pastor cannot bless you more than your parents can bless you. Your pastor can never bless you more than your parents can bless you. What your parents say, that is what God does for you. Because with the parents, they bless you out of their hearts. And that is our traditional way of marriage. That's what God recognizes. And for the whites also, God recognizes their way of getting married. So why then do we have to do the two?
Does the parents have no role to play in the white wedding?
In most cases, they don't. In most cases, they don't.
How about the traditional one? If the person is doing both?
The traditional one, the parents are so much involved in it. Let me tell you my wedding or my marriage. when it came to the traditional marriage, everyone that was supposed to be a part of it, I mean, my parents, my uncle, all the elderly in my family, I invited them and I went to speak to them, and they came. But when we got to the white wedding, I told them never to come because that was just a ceremony. It's for the church. And they didn't come. I personally asked them not to come because that wasn't the proper marriage. We had already married.
All along, I've been thinking that the traditional one is the main marriage and then the white one is a form of thanksgiving. But all of a sudden, it became like this is another part and this one is another part, the same wedding. Well, thank you so much for taking time to digest into the topic. I believe our viewers and our listeners, those that are reading from Facebook and YouTube, who have something to take home today. And I want to take this opportunity to thank Pamela Quason for taking time to dress me up today. And this is where time will permit us to come to the end of today's episode. My name is Naa Ashorkor Aji, your host, and I did this with Dr. Sylvester Donko Ketu, aka Dr. Love, and I am also Dr. Love. This is Shine TV and the Dr. Love Show. Keep locked on.